before the bullets, before the grenade, before the hospital room that would inspire thousands.
Jason Redman was just a kid from a small town in Ohio. He grew up on stories of courage, his grandfather piloting a B-24 in World War II, shot down over Yugoslavia and leading his crew to safety through snow-covered mountains. His father wore army green. His brother became a Marine. His sister served in the Air Force. Jason? He chose the Trident, Navy SEAL. From the age of 15, he chased the warrior's path, not for glory, but for something bigger, service. He survived Hell Week's sleepless nights, freezing surf, and endless pain. He deployed to South America, then to the war zones of Afghanistan and Iraq. By 2007, he had seen more than most men see in a lifetime. But in the dusty streets and dark alleys of Al-Anbar province, he would face a night that would test not his skill, but his will to live. Pinned down in a kill zone, 8 bullet wounds, half his face gone, his team fighting to reach him before it was too late. He survived that night, but survival was only the start. Because what Jason Redman did after, how he rebuilt himself, how he inspired others, would become one of the most powerful comeback stories in modern military history. This is not just a story about war. It's about the fight after the fight. It's about choosing to overcome when the world expects you to fall. This is the story of Jason Redman. If you want to hear more stories of survival, resilience, and inspiration like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next journey.
What does it take to crawl back from the edge of death? What do you do when your body's broken, your face shattered, your blood pooling in the dirt, and all you can hear are enemy gunshots cracking overhead? Selber, do you quit? Or do you fight for every second you have left? Jason Redman was a warrior long before he ever wore the SEAL Trident. But on a dark night in 2007, deep in the insurgent stronghold of Karma, Iraq, he would come face to face with the moment that defines every man. The moment where life hangs by a thread. Pinned down in a kill zone, shot 8 times, his jaw destroyed, his arm nearly blown off, his team under fire. And somehow, he lived. But survival was only the beginning. This is not just a story about combat. It's about what comes after. It's about pain, purpose, and a mindset forged in fire. It's about the sign he posted on his hospital door that would go viral around the world, inspiring thousands of wounded warriors. It's about what it means to overcome. Because Jason didn't just survive war, he beat it. And then he turned around to help others do the same. So ask yourself, when the worst moment of your life arrives, will you be ready? Or will you crumble? This is the story of a man who answered that question in blood, grit, and sheer will. Jason Redman grew up in a small town in Ohio, raised on stories of courage and sacrifice. His grandfather, a B-24 pilot in World War II, was shot down over Yugoslavia and led his crew back to safety through snow-covered mountains. His father served in the Army. His brother became a Marine. His sister joined the Air Force. Jason, he chose the hardest path of them all. He became a Navy SEAL. From the age of 15, he was drawn to the warrior's life. G.I. Joe, explosions, adventure. But it wasn't just boyhood fantasy. It was the desire to serve something greater than himself. And when he finally stepped into the crucible of SEAL training, he was met with one of the harshest tests in the military world. Hell Week. 5 days. No sleep. Cold, wet, constant motion. Punishing physical pain. Jason nearly quit. Nearly. But something inside him refused to break. He hung on, one sunrise at a time, and came out the other side forged into something stronger. He served through the drug wars in South America. He trained in jungle warfare and reconnaissance. And then came 9/11. Everything changed. Jason deployed to Afghanistan, then Iraq, where he found himself in the brutal chaos of Al-Anbar province. Fallujah, Karma. Every mission was life or death. Capture or kill. In 2007, on what was supposed to be one of the final missions of his deployment, his team walked straight into a devastating Al-Qaeda ambush. Reconnaissance. Machine gun fire tore through the night. Jason was hit. Again, and again, and again. But what happened next would become one of the most powerful comeback stories in modern military history. No, this is a story about war. But more than that, it's a story about choosing to live when everything says you should be dead. About finding purpose after trauma. And about a warrior who turned his pain into a message the world would never forget. His name is Jason Redman. And this is how he overcame. By 2007, Jason Redman was no stranger to danger. He had trained for war, lived it, breathed it. As a Navy SEAL, he'd operated in Colombia, Peru, and Afghanistan, hunting drug lords, dismantling networks, and navigating the jagged mountains of Taliban territory. But Iraq was different. Fallujah wasn't just another war zone. It was a living, breathing battlefield, scarred by years of bloodshed and betrayal. And now, as part of the SEAL deployment in Al-Anbar province, Jason was operating in the heart of it. The mission was simple on paper. Capture or kill high-value Al-Qaeda operatives. But every night brought uncertainty. Every compound, every dark alley, every mud-walled building could be laced with death. They called it direct action. But to the men kicking down doors in the dead of night, it felt more like roulette. Still, Jason and his team made progress. The Anbar awakening had shifted momentum. Tribal leaders, tired of the violence, began feeding U.S. Forces intelligence. For once, there was a sliver of hope. But then came Karma. A small town northeast of Fallujah, Karma was known as a sanctuary for Al-Qaeda leadership. Few units dared enter. When Jason's SEAL team moved in, they were met with immediate resistance. Bullets. IEDs. Chaos. On one of the first missions, a fellow SEAL, Petty Officer Clark Schwedler, was killed in a brutal firefight. That changed everything. The mission shifted into high gear. Karma became the focal point. Every night, Jason's team launched raids, tracked enemy movements, and gathered intelligence on the network's top figure, the #1 Al-Qaeda commander in the region. Weeks passed. Tension built. Every mission felt heavier than the last. Then they got the call. The target, the high-value leader, had been tracked to a specific house. Time-sensitive intelligence placed him there, at that moment. No time to delay. They moved swiftly, under the cover of night. Helicopters dropped them outside the compound. Silence. Then breaching charges. Flashbangs. Room to room. Empty. The target had vanished. But they found bomb-making materials, munitions, traces of a recent presence. It was enough to prove they were close. Jason's team prepared to blow the cache and extract. Standard procedure. Then, movement. Snipers spotted 5 men running from a nearby house, darting across the road, disappearing into a dense thicket. It was 3:0 a.m. Iraq was under curfew. No civilians would be moving at this hour, and certainly not toward explosions. The ground force commander turned to Jason. "I want you to check it out. Interrogate them if needed." Jason didn't hesitate. He rallied his team, adjusted their formation, and began moving toward the tree line. What he didn't know was that he was walking straight into a trap. Makar, an ambush, planned and executed by one of the most dangerous enemy forces in the region, was already waiting. Mimo, and the kill zone had just opened its jaws. The moon hung low over Karma, casting long shadows across the barren fields. Jason Redmond's boots crunched softly in the dust as he led his team toward the dense thicket where 5 men had disappeared just moments earlier. No one spoke. The silence was deafening. Every instinct screamed caution, but they were SEALs, trained to move toward the threat, not away from it. Their formation fanned out, eyes scanning the brush. Night vision goggles painted the world in shades of green. Heat signatures were faint. The air felt off, too still. And then everything exploded. The first bursts came from the left flank, machine gun fire ripping through the quiet like thunder. Muzzle flashes lit up the tree line. Jason's medic went down instantly, shot through the torso. Another teammate was hit. Chaos erupted. They had walked straight into a pre-staged Al-Qaeda ambush. These weren't just insurgents. They were trained fighters, part of the high-value target's personal security detail. They knew the terrain, knew the tactics, and had set the trap with deadly precision. The thicket wasn't cover, it was bait. Jason was out front, fully exposed. Bullets tore through the air around him. He returned fire, trying to suppress the enemy's position, but then, impact. Rounds slammed into his body. His left arm took 2 direct hits, shredding muscle and bone. Blood poured down his sleeve, soaking into the sand. He dropped to one knee, trying to stay conscious, trying to think. He knew he had to move. He couldn't stay in the open. He rose, took a step. Then another round caught him, this time in the face. Ismu. The bullet tore through his cheek, shattered his jaw, blew out his orbital bone, and exited near his nose. The force spun him backward. He hit the ground hard. Everything went black. His teammates saw him fall, lifeless, silent. They thought he was dead. The team pulled back, taking cover behind the only available protection, a massive tractor tire lying in the dirt. It was barely enough to shield them from the crossfire, but they had no choice. Jason lay alone, bleeding out, drifting in and out of consciousness. He could hear the firefight raging, hear the cries of the wounded, hear the low rumble of the AC-130 gunship circling overhead, but too close for it to fire without risking their lives. Pinned down, surrounded, running out of time. Back behind the tire, his team leader called in for fire support. Denied. Danger close. He called again. Denied. On the 3rd try, desperate and out of ammo, he radioed, "If you don't drop those rounds, none of us are walking out of here." Primal Chel Bait silence. Then, not incoming. Jason barely registered the sound, the deep thump of 40mm cannon rounds tearing through the night. Explosions shook the ground. Shrapnel tore through the brush. The enemy fire went quiet. But it wasn't over yet. Jason was still lying out there, alone, bleeding, half his face gone, and the enemy was still moving. His team wasn't leaving without him. The question was, could they get to him in time? Jason drifted in and out of consciousness. His vision was blurred. Blood filled his mouth. His body was going cold, not from the air, but from blood loss. He couldn't move his arm. He couldn't speak. Every breath felt like he was sprinting underwater. But he was still alive, and he knew it wouldn't last. Pinned down in an open field, the only thing keeping him from death was a piece of shredded flesh called willpower. He focused on one phrase, over and over, like a lifeline. Sevens. Stay awake to stay alive. Stay awake to stay alive. Behind him, his teammates were still under fire. The 40mm airburst had stunned the ambushers, but not eliminated them. Jason heard the desperate cries of a wounded enemy. A pause. Then the thunder of another volley from the AC-130. Silence followed. Then, footsteps. It was his team leader. Without hesitation, the man broke cover, sprinted across the kill zone, and reached Jason. Under threat of more gunfire, he dragged his limp body back to the tractor tire. Jason's pulse was weak. Blood soaked his uniform, but there was still a heartbeat. A tourniquet went on. Tight. Immediate. Life-saving. Still, Jason knew the clock was ticking. If the medevac didn't come soon, he was done. Finally, over the radio, bird inbound. Rotors thundered across the sky. The extraction helicopter came in hot, landing in a storm of dust and chaos. The team hustled Jason aboard along with the others wounded. The crew chief looked down, saw the extent of Jason's injuries, and gave a glance that said everything. We're going to lose him. But they didn't. Nana, that crew flew like hell was chasing them. Minutes later, Jason arrived at the combat support hospital in Baghdad. He remembered the doors opening, the bright lights, the sterile air, doctors in motion, hands grabbing, voices yelling. Then came the moment he let go. I've made it, he thought. They can bring me back now. And just as he slipped into unconsciousness, a nurse shouted, "Sevens." He's still got a bomb on him. Chaos erupted. Turns out, Jason had arrived in the operating room still wearing a live grenade on his belt. Medical staff scattered like a cartoon scene, leaving him alone, dying, and strapped to a table. With a live explosive. The last thought Jason remembered before passing out. You've got to be kidding me. What a day. None. But they got the grenade off. They operated. They saved him. And when Jason Redman finally woke up, scarred, mangled, missing part of his face, he wasn't broken. He was alive. And he had something to say to the world. At Walter Reed Hospital, Jason Redman lay in a bed, broken but breathing. His body had been ripped apart, rebuilt by surgeons in 37 operations. His jaw wired shut. Skin grafts covered half his face. Tubes, wires, silence. People came in with quiet voices, heavy eyes. They looked at him with pity. He hated it. Jason couldn't speak, but he could still write. And with every ounce of strength he had left, he scribbled a message, not just to his visitors, but to the world. His wife taped it to the hospital room door. Bright orange paper, bold letters. Attention to all who enter here. Sevens. If you are coming into this room with sorrow or to feel sorry for my wounds, go elsewhere. The wounds I received I got in a job I loved, doing it for people I love, supporting the freedom of a country I deeply love. I am incredibly tough and will make a full recovery. What is full? That is the absolute utmost my body has the ability to recover. Then I will push that about 20% further through sheer mental tenacity. This room you are about to enter is a room of fun, optimism, and intense, rapid regrowth. If you are not prepared for that, go elsewhere. The sign went viral. News outlets shared it. Wounded veterans copied it. President George W. Bush invited Jason to the White House. But to Jason, it wasn't about fame. It wasn't even about him. It was about choice. The choice to overcome. He would go on to inspire thousands through his story, his nonprofit work, and his mantra: get off the X. Don't stay stuck in trauma. Don't let the worst moment of your life define you. Jason Redman walked out of that hospital not as a victim, but as a warrior who refused to die and lived to lead others home.